On this episode, I tell the story of my purchase, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I offer some tips that you may find helpful if you're looking to purchase your own C5. Good to have you back, Fetheads. In Season 1, I talked a little bit about why I chose a sports car as a daily driver and why a Corvette over a 370Z. On this episode, I'm going to talk about the research I did and some tips I can offer that you may find helpful. Once I had decided on a Corvette, I used Kelley Blue Book to narrow down the pricing. Initially, I had used their typical listing price, but found that this value seemed to be lower than actual listing prices for my area by about $1,500. For example, out of every 10, I might find one or two that match Kelley Blue Book, but really weren't in that great of a condition. And because I wanted to use the Vette as a daily driver, I was looking for one in the best condition I could find. So as I would find a C5 Vette, I would place them into an Excel spreadsheet with mileage, color, and listing price. I felt like it gave me more of a lifetime snapshot than Kelley Blue Book offered. I would then compare new listings to this spreadsheet and get an idea of how high or low the price was. By this time, I had already test drove a 99 Vette and had spent several weeks looking at listings. I was beginning to feel like I was not going to find one in good enough condition at the right price. For weeks, I kept seeing an Electron Blue C5 at the top of my search, always above my price cutoff. I just wasn't looking at anything over $20,000. It was manual, had dual roofs, and 10,500 miles on the odometer. The paint was nearly perfect, the interior was spotless, and it was bone stock, not even an exhaust. Now, if you're in the process of looking, you'll know that all these aspects mean that this particular C5 was just about as close to a holy grail as you could find. Okay, so maybe I'm inflating my own balloon. Nonetheless, it was evident that this car was loved, and it was difficult to find a C5 like this one. I called and I made a low-ball offer. I let them know I wanted a price before I made a trip to the dealership, as I was traveling over an hour. I gained a bit of luck, and it snowed that night. They still called me the next day with a figure, $20,000. I bought the car that following Saturday. Now, I tell this story to point out a few things I believe helped me and some that may have been a hindrance. Let's start with the negatives. The first is that I only used Kelley Blue Book. There are two other sites that I would suggest you add into your mix, Edmunds and Nataguides. This will give you 3 sale prices to determine a better average. Sadly, I should have known better because I had just got done using these sites to determine a price for another car. I think that this is just good practice for any car you're looking to buy, whether it's a Corvette or a minivan. Also, being frank, I had gotten the itch. I had money burning a hole in my pocket and I wanted a car real bad. In hindsight, this would have led me to pay a bit more for a Corvette than I should have. And some of you may believe that despite the immaculate condition of my baby, I did. The car was a want, not a need, and looking back, I think that it would have been best for me to take a bit of a deep breath. This is not the voice of regret though. I believe that I still got a good deal and I am still very happy with my car. The research said that $20,000 was a fair price based on the others I had seen, both private and dealership. Knowing how Kelley Blue Book determines their pricing, there is a possibility that they aren't always as current as one would think. I think the Excel spreadsheet helped me out when getting a feel for the pricing landscape. Don't be afraid to do the same if you find a significant difference between what the pricing is and what actual market values are. One more negative in my opinion is that despite the Corvette's popularity, for many people the Corvette was and remains a dream car. I believe that even once they've decided to sell, they remain emotionally attached to their car. That's not to say deals aren't available, but they are considerably harder to find and will require patience. Flipping the coin, I believe that there are a few positives that helped me out. The first being that I inquired about a Corvette in December. I mean, hell, I am convinced that the salesman was trying to talk me out of a 370 when I went to the Nissan dealership. Sports cars are going to sell in the spring, summer, and maybe in the fall. Throw in the winter storm that we had that week, and I was likely one of the few that inquired about the Corvette at all. So calling with a serious inquiry and using the season and weather to my advantage, I believe the dealership was willing to knock off more than they would normally. I think it also helped that the listing price was so high to begin with. I would imagine that other potential buyers did the same as me and passed the listing by because of the price. So even if the price seems high, gauge whether they're willing to move at all. You may end up getting a good bargain that others just weren't aware of. Finally, doing my research on forums, testing several different sports cars, price watching, and learning different things to look for on a Corvette, I was well prepared to go in and examine the car. Knowing to use things like the onboard diagnostics to display the current and historical codes is invaluable. Knowing common problems and how easy they are to fix and things to avoid will steer you away from bad deals. You'll find the Corvette community on forums and on YouTube are incredibly helpful in this regard. So that's just some of my thoughts on my experience purchasing a C5. Let me quickly review some tips. 1. Use Kelley Blue Book, Edmunds, and North American Dealer Association guides to give you a better idea of market pricing. 2. Try your best to remove the emotion of buying a car. Take a deep breath and sleep on it. If you wake up still wanting it, that's a good sign. If you don't, wait for a different deal. Be aware that the seller may have emotions about selling the car as well, so the listing price may be higher than the average. Inquire anyway. If they're willing to budge, there may be a deal that no one else was aware of. 3. Use the weather and season to your advantage. Four-wheel drive is going to be more expensive in the winter because everyone wants one for the snow. Similarly, it'll be harder to find a deal on a sports car in the summer. Look in the late fall or winter. And 4, do as much research as you can. Know how to pull up the onboard diagnostics. Look for the commonly worn parts and signs that the car has been abused. Forums and previous owners will be very helpful in this regard. Thanks for watching, Vetheads. If you have any questions, comments, or thoughts, feel free to add them. I'm always happy to discuss. Be sure to check out my quick blurb on getting the codes from the C5 onboard diagnostics. All things considered, I am very happy with my purchase experience, the price I paid, and my Corvette in general. And I look forward to the next episode with you all.